Have you ever looked at someone and thought you knew their whole story? You see a guy in dusty overalls, grease on his hands, and you think, okay, he fixes things. But what if that guy could buy the whole building he's fixing, and the one next to it, and maybe the entire city block? This is the story of Mr. Alistair Finch. To the world, he was the chairman of Finch Global, a massive oil and gas company. A name whispered in boardrooms, a signature on checks with so many zeros you'd think the pen slipped. But Alistair had a secret. He was tired of the suits, the fake smiles, the endless meetings about profit margins. He missed the feeling of real work. So he did something completely bonkers. He created an alter ego, Al, the humble repairman. He would fly to his company's most remote locations, not in a private jet, but in coach. He'd put on his blue overalls and get to work, fixing pipes and checking gauges. Nobody knew. His own employees would see him and just nod, another face in the crowd. It was his way of staying connected to the heart of his empire. He wanted to see his company not from a skyscraper, but from the ground up. He believed you can't lead people if you don't understand the sweat on their brow. It was a crazy, brilliant plan. This time, his secret mission took him to a sprawling project in the heart of the African savannah. The sun there doesn't just shine, it cooks. The air is thick with the smell of dust and machinery. Alistair, or Al, blended in perfectly. He shared lunch with the other workers, listened to their stories, their complaints about the heat, their dreams for their families. He learned more in a week of listening than in a year of reading reports. He saw the real challenges, the day-to-day grind that no chart or graph could ever truly capture. He wasn't just a chairman playing dress-up, he was a student of his own creation. His disguise was flawless. He carried his own tools, spoke the lingo, and even developed a convincing limp from a previous accident. People liked Al. He was quiet, hard-working, and never complained. He was just one of the guys, another cog in the giant machine he secretly owned. He felt a sense of peace he hadn't felt in years. Away from the pressures of being Alistair Finch, he was just Al, a man who could fix a leaky valve and earn an honest day's pay. Little did he know, this trip was about to get a lot more complicated than a busted generator. Life on the oil rig was a routine of heat, hard work, and more heat. But one afternoon, that routine was shattered. A high-pressure alarm started screaming, a sound that makes every worker's blood run cold. A critical pipeline stabilizer had failed. If it wasn't fixed and fast, the whole section could blow. Panic started to ripple through the crew. People were shouting, pointing, unsure of what to do. The official site manager seemed frozen, overwhelmed by the pressure. It was the kind of moment where chaos loves to take charge. This was a real crisis, not a theoretical problem in a boardroom. That's when a young local repairman named Kalo stepped up. While others were panicking, Kalo was calm. His eyes were focused, his movements deliberate. He had seen this kind of failure before, but only in simulations. He grabbed his toolkit and started barking out clear, simple instructions. You, shut down the secondary valve. You, get the coolant hoses ready. He wasn't the boss, but in that moment, he was the leader. He moved with a bravery that was almost shocking. He was walking toward the danger, not away from it. Everyone stopped and watched him, their fear slowly turning into hope. Al, our secret chairman, was right there, watching the whole thing. He saw the fear in the manager's eyes and the courage in Kalo's. He saw a natural leader taking control not because of his title, but because of his competence and guts. Kalo worked with incredible skill, his hands moving with the precision of a surgeon. He communicated with his small, impromptu team, keeping them calm, telling them exactly what he needed. It was a masterclass in crisis management, happening right there in the dust and the danger. Alistair was more than impressed. He was deeply moved. This was the kind of person his company needed. In a matter of minutes, which felt like hours, Kalo managed to stabilize the pressure. The screaming alarm went silent. The crew let out a collective sigh of relief. Kalo, covered in sweat and grease, simply wiped his brow and gave a small nod. He didn't seek praise or applause, he just did the job. Alistair knew he had just witnessed something special. He had found a diamond in the rough, a true leader forged in the heat of a real crisis. He made a mental note. Find out everything about this man, Kalo. The gears of fate were beginning to turn. A few weeks later, back in the city, Finch Global hosted a grand charity gala. It was an event for the rich and powerful, a world away from the oil fields. Alistair was back in his expensive suit, playing the part of the chairman. He decided to honor the brave workers from the African project, and he made sure Kalo was flown in as a special guest. Kalo, looking a bit lost in a rented tuxedo, was being celebrated for his heroism. He was polite and humble, still the same man who faced down a disaster, just in fancier clothes. He had no idea that Al, the quiet repairman, was the very man shaking his hand on stage. Enter Zara. She was a single woman, a journalist covering the event for a local magazine. She wasn't impressed by the glitz and glamour. She was looking for a real story. She was sharp, observant, and had a knack for seeing things others missed. Her assignment was to write about the company's philanthropy, but her instincts told her there was more to the story. She watched Alistair Finch, the powerful chairman, and saw a flicker of something familiar in his eyes. But she couldn't place it. She decided to interview the hero of the hour, Kalo. While talking to Kalo, Zara asked him about his experience. Kalo, being an honest man, described the incident in detail. He mentioned the other workers, and then he talked about Al. There was this older guy, Al, Kalo said, a quiet fellow but a hard worker. He was right there with us, handing me tools, keeping calm. I haven't seen him since. I hope he's okay. Zara's journalistic senses went into overdrive. An unknown hero, a mystery man. This was the real story. She thanked Kalo and started doing some digging right there at the party. Her investigation led her to a photograph from the project site, displayed on a digital screen. It showed the workers. And there, in the background, was Al, the quiet repairman. Zara zoomed in. Then she looked across the ballroom at the chairman, Alistair Finch. She looked back at the photo. The same eyes, the same posture, even under the overalls. It clicked. It was him. The billionaire chairman was Al. Her mind raced. Why would he do that? She walked over to Alistair, holding her phone with the picture. Mr. Finch, she said with a knowing smile, I think we need to talk about your friend, Al. Alistair was caught. He looked at the photo on Zara's phone, then at her intelligent, curious eyes, and he knew the game was up. For a moment, he felt a flash of panic, the kind a CEO feels when a secret is about to hit the news. But then, he saw the genuine intrigue on Zara's face, not malice. He smiled, a real, tired smile. All right, he said, leading her to a quiet corner. You got me. He told her everything, the boredom, the desire to connect with his company, the whole secret life of Al. Zara listened, completely fascinated. She wasn't seeing a billionaire. She was seeing a man trying to find meaning. Their conversation that night lasted for hours. Zara didn't run off to publish her explosive story. Instead, she found herself drawn to the real Alistair, the man behind the mask of the chairman and the overalls of the repairman. He was funny, surprisingly down-to-earth, and passionate about his people. He, in turn, was captivated by her wit, her integrity, and the fact that she was more interested in his story than his status. They talked about everything, from corporate responsibility to their favorite foods. It was an instant, unexpected connection, sparked by a secret identity and a brave deed hundreds of miles away. True to his word, Alistair promoted Kalo. He didn't just give him a raise, he put him on a leadership track, recognizing the talent he had seen firsthand. Kalo's life was changed forever, a reward for his courage and clear thinking under pressure. His bravery had not only saved a pipeline, but had also inadvertently led to the unmasking of his boss and the beginning of a great romance. It shows you, sometimes doing the right thing has rewards you could never ever predict. Fate works in mysterious ways, connecting people through the most unlikely of events. And what about Alistair and Zara? Their connection grew stronger with each passing day. She had seen him at his most powerful and at his most humble, and she loved both sides of the man. A year later, the man who hid his identity from the world stood proudly, without any secrets, and married the woman who had discovered it. Their wedding wasn't a massive corporate affair, but a simple, heartfelt ceremony. From a dusty oil rig in Africa to a walk down the aisle, the story of the repairman, the chairman,